And it is going. Okay. So, we wanted to record a vlog as is tradition when I visit friends and friends visit me, and there wasn't really anything in theaters we wanted to talk about, although come to find out we could have ranted on Ice Cream Man probably.
Like, when I was coming to visit, I noticed Ice Cream Man was like the one thing coming out in theaters. Like, maybe we could do a vlog on it. And then I was like, nah, it's just gonna be a disposable slasher. No, it could have been done, but
I'm kind of glad we didn't though, because we both pretty much thought not Ice Cream Man was lame. Like,
it was lame.
Lame. So
yeah.
So instead, what we decided to do was another movie that came out this year. I got it at the library. It was easy to check out. Scream 7, a different horror movie, one from a series that we both like, although you're definitely a much bigger Scream fan than I am.
Yeah, like on my Letterboxd page, the first Scream is like in that top 4 section. I'm very nostalgic for the first movie. I mean, I don't really was nostalgic for like the first 4 because I mean, well, the first 3 were out when I was like in middle school, and I saw them on my cable channels all the time, like HBO and all that. Mm-hmm. 4, I was a little too young to see it in theaters. I mean, I was like early high school, but I couldn't get into R-rated movies still.
Yeah.
And then 5 and 6, I saw in theaters immediately, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like I kind of started working my way through different horror franchises once I moved out over here because, like, my folks aren't into horror movies. I was too scared of them as a kid. So, like, Scream was one I just kind of binged and got into probably a few years ago. Like, I like the movies. Scream 3, I think, is the weakest for me, but I like all the rest of them.
Well, 3
Except until now.
Well, 3 is generally considered the weakest of all of them. Mm-hmm. And, like, for me, it is the weakest, but I still find a lot of merit with it.
Yeah.
Like, and then I remember 6, I kind of ranked a little bit higher than 3. I mean, and I had my reasons for it, but when 6 came out, I was of the opinion there were no bad Scream movies. Mm. I cannot say that anymore.
No, because, like, so in case you don't follow the Scream movies, what happened was Scream 5 introduced Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega as, like, hitherto unknown daughters of one of the original killers, and they were kind of building an arc across the two Screams in 5 and 6, where Melissa Barrera was kind of becoming a new Scream killer, and it was playing like whether she was going to use like basically like Dexter, like will you use this killer instinct for good or evil or whatnot. It was an interesting ongoing arc, I thought.
And they also had a lot of focus on, like, the relationship with her sister, played by Jenna Ortega, because that's, like, in 5, they established that's an aspect of, like, the fact that she's related to Billy Loomis is something she didn't know about, and that's, like, something she just comes to terms with. Mm-hmm. And then they also had a big focus on Chad and Mindy, who were the twin niece and nephew of Randy from the first 2 movies, and like they were essentially taking his place as like the meta commentary that because that's the thing with Scream.
He was the fan favorite of the first 2 movies.
Yeah, the thing with the Scream movies that like sets them apart from other horror franchises is the meta commentary. Like they have something to like. The first movie kind of came out like when slasher movies were basically kind of dead, like Curse of Michael Myers had just come out, and that's kind of all you need to know about like the state of slasher movies.
Yeah.
And like it was just kind of making fun of horror movies. The second movie was about horror movie sequels. The third one was about trilogies, and it also had like some commentary about Hollywood.
The one thing I remember about Scream 3 is Carrie Fisher showing up and having like meta comments like on Star Wars.
Yeah, and then 4 was about horror movie remakes, kind of going into like how there was a huge remake trend around the 2000s.
It came out when Platinum Dunes was remaking everything under the sun.
Yeah, and then 5 was what was it called? 5 was about what was called requels, basically when they make like a legacy sequel to like an old like Halloween, for example, like how they go back to the original continuity, like after the remakes.
Yeah, but it was also about toxic fandoms because coincidentally, like a big part of that movie is everyone being upset about the 8th installment of a major franchise. Gee, I wonder what that's from.
And they're not subtle about it at all. They're like, oh yeah, the one the Knives Out guy directed. Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess which toxic fandom they were satirizing.
Yeah.
I mean, they handled it good, in my opinion, anyway, but...
I forget what 6's point was. Like, I remember what happened in there. I remember enjoying it.
Like, 6 is a little more muddy with the commentary. Like, it's more generally franchises. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a little more vague, but, like, really the point of 6 was kind of more so to continue the story threads from 5, which will bring us back to Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, because what happened was Melissa Barrera basically spoke out against, she spoke out in support of Palestine against Israel and that whole war that's going on that I'm not informed enough to speak on. And so she got fired, Jenna Ortega jumped ship in solidarity, and Paramount basically said, well, tough shit, we're keeping the release date, so throw something together to release in 2026.
It should also be mentioned Scream 7 was originally going to be directed by Christopher Landon. Mm-hmm. Christopher Landon's the guy who did Happy Death Day. Most recently, he did Drop. He also did Freaky, basically Freaky Friday if it was a slasher flick.
It was originally called Freaky Friday the 13th when they got shut down on that.
Yeah, so, Christopher Landon's movies are pretty good, and he basically described getting Scream 7 as a dream job. Mm-hmm. And then everybody was shitting on him. He was getting death threats and everything, because basically everyone was blaming him for Melissa Barrera's firing when he had nothing to do with it. And... Mm-hmm. In his own words, it turned into a nightmare for him, and he kind of walked off.
Yeah, and it's actually come out recently that Melissa Barrera has basically been blacklisted from all of Hollywood over this.
Over the thing. She was in Abigail afterward, but that may have been already in production.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. So, they put together, basically... Sidney Prescott, Neve Campbell's character, she was the main character of the first 4 Scream movies. Kind of moved to the returning character role in Scream 5 and sat out Scream 6. The series was moving on without her and finally moving past it. And then Scream 7, it's like, nope, bring her back, drive a dump truck of money to Neve Campbell's house and get her back.
Yeah, that's another story. The reason why she didn't come back for Scream 6 was because... the people at Paramount and Spyglass basically wanted to pay her pennies when she's the main face of the franchise. And she's like, look, I deserve a better paycheck. And then she walked off when they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of forced to when they shot themselves in the foot with Scream 7.
Yeah. So Scream 7 is like, get back Sidney Prescott, go back to the dried up well of the first 4 Scream movies. Completely abandon the actual interesting plot thread from Screams 5 and 6 and figure it out. And here we are, Scream 7.
And the unfortunate thing is, from what I remember, when Scream 7 was going to have Melissa Barrera and everyone back, they were teasing how, they were still going to lean into the legacy thing because, they were bringing back what was called Core 4 from Scream 6. That was Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, and then Chad and Mindy. Mm-hmm. And then they were also going to they were going to fight to get back Neve Campbell for Sydney, and then they were going to get Courtney Cox, they were going to get Patrick Dempsey, and I think they were going to bring back Hayden Panettiere again. At least that's the earliest report I remember.
Mm-hmm. And then throw it all out and basically throw something together that at the last minute. Because... the climax of this movie basically screams, this project is due tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, if you saw the trailers for Scream 7, and I saw a lot of trailers, I remember, it prominently features, Ghostface burning down the house from the original movie, and it also comes up in Scream 5. And,
Scream 5, Amber, one of the killers in Scream 5, her family's living in the house.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes place, the climax takes place there.
Yeah. So, like, they made a huge deal. It was on all the posters. It's even on the DVD menu.
Yeah, the DVD menu was better than most of what was in the movie.
Yeah, but, like, the house burning down was sold as the centerpiece of this movie. It happens in the cold open and has dick to do with anything else that happens the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think Double Toasted was like speculating that maybe the house burning down was meant to be like a more integral part of the story before everything went to shit, but they already had it filmed. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how much stock I put in that, but it is weird.
Like, that's the thing. The opening sequence itself, I mean, we could talk about it a little bit in a sec.
Oh, yeah.
The opening sequence itself is fine as a standalone piece. The problem is that it never comes back.
Yeah. No.
Like, well, they mention it exactly once when the new Ghostface calls Sydney, and then it's also mentioned as the reason why Gale happens to be close by in town. But other than that, that huge, elaborate burning it all down thing, the tagline and everything, it means nothing.
Yeah, it's like, whereas other Scream movies, even if the cold open on paper didn't have anything to do with the plot, they use it for world building to,
yeah,
like Scream 2, I remember it was famously as Jada Pinkett Smith go to a movie opening and the Ghostface kills her, which is basically world building on how big this story is in universe, so they can continue the meta commentary and have it make sense.
Yeah, like, well, Scream 1 obviously is the establishing incident that kicks off. Well, 1, 3, and 5 and 6 have the establishing incident that kind of kicks off the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, 2 is what you said. 4, it's like a montage of scenes, like people watching basically in between 3 and 4, there's, so Scream 3, they've built up to the third movie in the in-universe Stab series, and in the years between 3 and 4, they've worked all the way up to Stab 7, and it's just like a montage of, like, people having, like, commentary on the movies, and, like, they're kind of degrading in quality, and they have the remake feel to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the opening of Scream 7, it's like this dude who is such an over-the-top nerd that you don't really buy him as being a real person. Like, I nerded out over the Batmobile at the Six Flags yesterday, but I wasn't, like, climbing on it and stuff, like, or creeping on this. And his girlfriend, who's kind of strange because she's not into this, and it makes you wonder why she came. But they go to the Billy Loomis house. The guy nerds out over all the stuff in there. There's a Ghostface animatronic, and then at some point they completely fail to notice that the Ghostface animatronic parts are laying on the ground 2 feet away from them, and it gets replaced with a guy and kills them. It's the most competent outing of this killer for most of, or at least for a lot of the movie, honestly. So, but it's like, yeah, pretty much never comes up again, other than like Gale and the killer are both like, "Hey, did you hear what happened at the Mocker house?"
Yeah, and then also when the killer first calls Sydney, it's like, "Oh, I've been to Woods Bar, our childhood home. Things got a little heated."
Yeah.
Like, it's for the butt of a joke, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, house burns down. You're wondering what the hell is why was this the centerpiece of the advertising campaign? And then it cuts to Sydney's daughter, who is anachronistically old.
Yeah, so the thing about that is, so this movie I think is set in 2026, the year it released.
There's nothing.
And here's the thing. She is established to be 17 years old. Or maybe, yeah, she's established to be 17 years old, which means she would have been born in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Scream 4 took place in 2011, the year that movie released, when she would have been 2 years old. And if you think back to Scream 4, Sydney's not even mentioned to have been married.
Let alone be pregnant yet, yeah. So they completely shredded or ignored the timeline of these movies. They have a completely gratuitous scene establishing that the 2 kids she was seen with in Scream 5, they're just visiting grandma as an excuse for why they're not in play.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we lay that out, I'm starting to wonder if this was like a stock script they had floating around and they just grafted Scream characters onto it, since nothing lines up with the other movies.
I just remember, because you see Sydney with a baby in Scream 5.
I think she's pushing a double stroller.
Like a double stroller, so it's at those other two anonymous kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when the marketing was making a big deal about Tatum, her oldest daughter in the movie, I was like, are they going to forget those other two kids? I mean, well, they basically did.
Pretty much,
They just hand-waved them away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sydney has a 17-year-old daughter, Tatum. We'll say she's a time traveler or something, but whatever. And, the central crux of the movie is basically, Tatum and Sydney are not getting along, mother and daughter conflict. But when I first saw the movie, I liked the development between the two of them. The movie was kind of about them strengthening their bond.
The only reason I gave it, a 2-star, because I did like some of it. And then I like the rest of the movie less and less as I was walking home and everything, but yeah.
But then rewatching it here, it's like, if you actually pay attention to the number of things that Tatum bitches about, she's just written to be arbitrarily contrarian to everything her mom does, so Sydney's just wrong about everything. It's like, first off, she's upset that Sydney won't talk about her childhood, which... What kid or teenager wants to know that?
It's like, on one hand, it's like, she has a pretty interesting past, so
I guess if she was a celebrity, I could...
Well, and she was made a celebrity, whether she liked it or not, because of the Stab movies. Curiously, the Stab movies almost never get mentioned in this movie.
Yeah, there's posters and...
There's posters in the house, and that's basically it.
And that's kind of it. But yeah, she's also complaining about, the Sydney's clothes at one point. She's...
there's this one part where she's going out to, school, she's going out because she's gonna be, they're prepping for a school play or something. On purpose, she grabs Sydney's jacket that she wore, in the original trilogy, and it's like, I'm going out in this, is that okay? Or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's like, how the hell you think she's gonna react to it? Sydney was.
Yeah, and then later on, she's complaining that her mom, wasn't teaching her to be a survivor or something like that, and there's, complaining about keeping her out of the ongoing serial killer stuff that regularly wrecks and threatens her life, and it's like, it makes less and less sense the longer it goes on, to where it's basically they just wrote it to where Sydney's wrong about everything, shut up.
Yeah, when we move on, it's gonna make more sense, how they didn't seem like they knew what they were gonna do with Tatum.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so Sydney is running a coffee shop, which seems a little lowbrow for someone who survived somebody, because she's married to Joel McHale, who plays a police officer.
Oh, that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Scream 5 noted, Scream 5 and 6 keep mentioning that Sydney's husband is a guy by the name of Mark. Now, the directors of Scream 5 and 6, fans were already assuming that the directors of Scream 5 and 6 noted this was the same Mark Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey in Scream 3. He was like a detective in that movie. Admittedly, I've kind of forgotten, his role in the movie, but
yeah.
Evidently I think he and Sydney were shown to be getting a little close in that movie.
Yeah.
So...
Here it's a different Mark played by Joel McHale.
Yeah, because they were trying to get Patrick Dempsey for the movie, but then he ultimately didn't come back, and I kept hearing conflicting reasons why. At first I heard it was a paycheck issue, but then I heard it had something to do with, California wildfires and scheduling conflicts.
Yeah. So now she's married to a different guy named Mark, which I like Joel McHale. I couldn't tell you what he's been in other than just TV shows here and there that got canned. But the dude's a talented comedic actor, which is why it's a little weird that he gets one scene with Sydney where he's funny, and then the rest he's played like a serious cop.
Uh-huh.
I don't.
It's
get why
you can tell that they had written it with Patrick Dempsey in mind.
Yeah. It was when they cast Joel McHale, they wrote one little scene for him to tell some jokes, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Sydney runs a coffee shop. Her daughter has some friends and a boyfriend. She's going to she's working on a play at school, which is the only school stuff we ever see her do. So there's like the techie friend, the two girlfriends who have so few character traits I couldn't tell you apart.
Yeah, the only one of them's played by McKenna Grace, who was Phoebe in Ghostbusters. Yeah. But yeah,
and she's got a boyfriend who for some reason is kind of oddly knows a lot about her mom, which I know celebrity stuff and all that.
They regularly refer to, like, at one point he's referred to as Gen Z Billy Loomis, because they heavily try to mislead you into thinking that he's going to be just like Billy from the first movie.
But they try to drop so many red herrings that I just started missing them. Like, they try to establish that the theater director might be a suspect, even though he has, like, 2 lines.
There's this one scene later in the movie where, like, Sidney's, like, looking into a crowd after an attack, and you see the theater director focused on in the crowd, and that's the last you ever see of him.
Yeah, like... Yeah, they try to say, oh, it could be this person, it could be this person, and like... Sorry, my brain had a few different ways I wanted to go that statement.
I mean, it's like, if you're gonna focus on him, at least do a kill with him.
Yeah, he doesn't even die. All the other suspects get killed off in, like, one big streak.
Yeah, like, what I'm saying, he drops out of the movie. He drops out of the movie after that one little tease.
Yeah. So, Sidney gets a call, and it's Stu, who is Matthew Lillard from the first movie. Like, everyone had thought he had died, but now they're saying that he might have survived. But they try to play like it could possibly be AI deepfake, and it's like, it zooms in close on his face, and it looks perfect because they actually got Matthew Lillard back. AI cannot do that.
Yeah, like, the thing with the AI is that, like, they do some stuff. Well, first of all, I should mention the fan theories of Stu being alive do precede this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, apparently an original draft of Scream 3 would have had Stu being the mastermind of the killings from prison. And then Scream 6 also brought the fan theory back. Like, there's this part where they're, like, touring, like, all the artifacts from, like, across the movies. Mm-hmm. And when they come across the CRT that killed Stu... Kirby, Hayden Panettiere's character, is like, well, everybody seems to think he's dead, at least.
Yeah.
So, like, there were fan theories that Stu was really alive for years now, and this movie tries to lean heavily into that. But getting back to the AI thing, it's both too good to be AI, and yet they do a couple of things that are clues that it's AI. Like, for example, every time you see Matthew Lillard, the scarring on his face is, like, completely different. Like, the first appearance of him, like, it's very heavy scarring.
And then the rest of the
movie, it's a lot more light, and it's, like, inconsistent.
Which, yeah, if that was an intentional plot point, it makes you wonder why Sidney didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, because they play, like, even after it becomes, like, they seem to already know that it's AI deepfakes, and yet they keep going all in, like, oh, is it Stu? Could it really be Stu?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, yeah, it zooms in close on this dude's face. Like, I've heard, there's already been stories and, like, viral moments of someone, like, deepfaked 2 actors doing a kung fu fight that was basically pasted their faces over some stock footage, and it looked terrible.
It's like anything the stuff they do in the movie is stuff that AI has a better time trying to do, but it's like, you can usually still tell because it's usually from the way they move.
Yeah.
Like, another tell they do in the movie is that later on when he calls, whenever he goes to hang up, he always presses the bottom of the screen as if he's pressing the button right there, and that looks very unnatural.
It does, yeah.
But, yeah.
But, like, so Scream movies each are supposed to have themes, and one of the themes that this one supposedly has is, like, discussing AI, even though it has absolutely nothing to say about AI other than, oh, it can totally do that. Even though it can't, if you know anything about the real thing.
Yeah, like, this movie has no commentary at all on AI deepfakes. Like, there's one throwaway line from one of the red herrings for the killer saying, oh, I forget the specific line. It was something like, oh, AI is like the death of humanity or something.
Death of civilization.
Death of civilization.
The tech guy said that. But, like, yeah, that's as far as it goes.
And there was a lot they could have said about AI.
There was, yeah. I'm hung up on movies that pretend to be about AI when they totally aren't, is kind of how a trend for this year, because Mercy does the same thing.
Yeah.
That movie was awful. But like, yeah, as far as, there are so many people who use AI to make garbage fan films of Star Wars. Like, you could have used that to where, like, they're using AI to try and basically remake the series the way they wanted to, or something like that.
Yeah,
Tie it back into the toxic fandoms thing. Instead, it was just, no, this script was thrown together, like, in a this is due tomorrow kind of way, so it's just there.
At one point, I came across an AI like a trailer that reimagined Scream as like a 50s horror movie, and it was very clearly AI generated. So like they could have been playing around with AI generations of people parodying the Stab movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally only use it for the gimmick of, oh, is Stu back? Is he back from the dead? Did he never die? That's the only thing they do use it for.
Yeah. So like what I remember thinking when I first saw this movie was, I didn't feel anything, but every now and then there'd be a neat kill, and there is one neat kill at the rehearsal for the stage play at the school.
It's what they do with McKenna Grace.
Basically, she's like on fairy wings. The killer grabs the controls, has her fly around, and keeps stabbing her while she's flying around. I don't know why she didn't even try to kick him, but whatever. I admit she's not altogether there, but like.
She was also a little too high up. I think they showed that her legs were getting stuck.
It was, but she had a few chances before then. But like, so yeah, there's like one or two decent kills in the movie, which I think is why, like, I know Cinema Snob and Double Toasted kind of cut this a pass, just as a brainless slasher movie.
And even then, they're not that. It's nothing you can't just get from the first 6 movies.
Yeah, and it's like 2 moments that are passable, and the rest is just stock boilerplate.
Yeah.
So then they, basically, so Sydney gets her daughter. Sydney immediately. Oh, there's another thing that the daughter is pissed at her mom for no reason. Like, the mom is like, he could be the killer, and she's like, why don't you trust anyone? And it's like, I'll give you 5 good reasons why off the top of my head.
Yep. They really did, like, upon reflection, they really didn't know what they were doing with.
They didn't. It's like, yeah, on a rewatch, it's more clear that they didn't know what they were doing. So then, Sydney, daughter, and husband go back to the house to pack a go bag, and there's a Ghostface killer there that attacks them.
And this is where it's going to get a little confusing, because what happens is, like, the killer comes in through the attic, and they're getting their bags, and then they realize somebody's turning out the lights, and then they see that the killer has Tatum at knife point.
Mm.
They are actually very coordinated in getting the killer to get disarmed.
Yeah.
Like, because they trick the killer to point his knife at Sydney, and then that's when they go. Tatum, like, basically elbows him, jumps forward, and that's when the dad goes for the killer.
Yeah. So it plays like Tatum at least has some shred of competence here.
Yeah.
But then later on in the movie, she's like, no, I want to be a fighter. I would, don't freak me out of this. So implying that she doesn't have this competence and stuff. And then later on, still, when she's cornered at the sight of Ghostface, she immediately cries, screams, and runs away. And so it's like...
And then later, when she's trapped in a room and she has a gun, she's like, granted, it's a gun. Those can be heavy things, but it's like, she completely breaks down. She can't do it.
It's like... Yeah, so it's like, how competent is this character supposed to be? And also, it comes across like suicidal overconfidence early on, and then she's innocent in a situation and can't handle anything.
Yeah.
So, they wrestle with the Ghostface, they get him outside, he gets run over, and this should actually be foreshadowing later on, because the first Ghostface is a completely meaningless background character that nobody knows.
Yeah, like, another thing that we pointed out, so... After, like, McKenna Grace is killed off, like, there's, like, a huge police escort outside their house because explicitly Ghostface was there for Tatum.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're getting their bag to, like, flee the scene and all that. when the fight against Ghostface gets outside, yeah, there's like a couple of cop cars, but there's no police.
Yeah, the cop cars are like parked a block away. There's no cops. Like how this should have ended is Ghostface steps outside and all the cops go bam, 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 bam.
And that becomes a recurring problem in this movie too. Like they establish huge police presence, and yet just so there can be a movie, there's no police.
Huge police presence, except for literally any situation that would have called for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Gail shows up, and she has the substitute Randys from Scream 5 and 6 with her.
Yeah, this movie, it should be noted, they do mention 5 and 6, like, during the opening, like, in the Mocker house.
Oh, yes, do they mention 6?
Oh, yeah, but... Yeah, in the Mocker house, they briefly mention Amber and Richie, the killers from 5, and then Chad and Mindy are back.
Except they're not fun anymore, and all their dialogue is cringed, 50-year-old writing teenage millennial humor.
They had the, snarky cringe a little bit in 5 and 6, but, it was a lot more restrained, and, they had a lot of other qualities that you could like about them.
Yeah.
7...
And they're both so useless to the plot. It's like, why are you here?
I guess just as a tell to say, well, we didn't completely forget 5 and 6. Though it's funny, 6, they spend the whole time mentioning Core 4. It's us and Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega is never mentioned at all, even though she began a relationship with Chad at the end of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And Melissa Barrera gets mentioned pretty much only once, and it's when Mindy has a not-so-kind dig at Billy Loomis having an unknown love child.
Yeah.
So they unmask the killer from the house, and it's literally a guy who appears for, a 5-second scene at a coffee shop.
Where he just, he glares at Sydney, and then Sydney's like, huh, that's weird, and then it moves on, very blatant foreshadowing, I guess, but yeah.
Believe me when I say the real killers aren't going to be much better.
Yeah. So even though they know that there's more than one killer in pretty much all these movies, nobody for a second believes that the whole thing is over.
They still call a curfew and everything.
Yeah, they still call a curfew across the town. But suddenly, Sydney and her daughter are not going to a safe house anymore for some reason.
They're just staying right there, because you know what? Yeah, we know it's not over, but you know what? Maybe it is a little over. We could stay here now.
I don't freaking get that. So it's like they just ran home just so they could have that that set piece. I'm having trouble thinking of words lately. So Sydney and Gail go to an insane asylum where supposedly Stu has been holed up, and they meet this orderly who's like, recognize, that John Doe, he was a drifter until he tried to kill a high school student, then he was here, and he and the guy that you unmasked were neighbors at the asylum.
They were friends. They were good friends.
Now, I should point out, the guy who's talking to them about this is his only scene or function in the movie. For now.
Yeah, he's one of those kinds of characters where it's you know what, he's just escorting them. He's basically a faceless dude, one of those faceless dudes that
he's an extra who shows up to give exposition, and that's
it. I'm just the example I was thinking of is, you know, the insane asylum scene in Final Destination 2? Mm-hmm. This guy in Scream 7 that's escorting them, he's the equivalent of that mental hospital worker who's taking Kimberly to see clear.
Yeah.
And she has, that exposition that, every remotely dangerous object has to be confiscated.
Yeah. It's just a pointless... It's an extra who's there to just push the plot forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So, again, Stu might be alive. Ooh. So, the setup we're about to lay out takes up pretty much the entire second half of the movie, because when you rewatching it and realizing how little plot is left, you kind of realize how slow this movie is. So they're going into the night. Sydney decides they're going to draw Stu out by doing an interview, and the daughter gets talked into gathering all her friends so that the people from Scream 5 and 6 can figure out who the killer is. Yeah. So they all go to hang out at a bar, and Meanwhile, Joel McHale is in his house. Somehow there are still no cops anywhere in the area, and he just bungles around this work area because, like, there's some people there's a construction site, like, adding a garage to his house.
Yeah, they have, like, all these, like, transparent, like, I don't know what you call those. Like, those
drop cloth,
the drop cloth thing. They have, like, all these drop cloths hanging around.
Mm-hmm. And Ghostface jumps out from one and stabs him. So,
yeah.
Again, it's like, where the hell are all the cops? Why is he being such an idiot when he should know that Ghostfaces are still out there?
Yep.
It's like, again, so much. I remember saying at the time on Letterboxd, like, so much stupid crap happens in this movie, it's almost riffable for a Mystery Science Theater night, because, like, this is the second time that the cops have just disappeared so that the movie can happen.
Yep. Then, I think this has happened already. So, Sydney and Gale, they're coming back from the mental hospital, and they're trying to see if they can draw Stu out. Mm-hmm. So they make a big deal. Like, Gale decides to do that. Well, Sydney decides. She's gonna finally grant Gale an interview, which Gale has wanted for the last 30 years. And the thing with that is, yeah, like, that's been Gale's sort of thing, that she wants to get stories out of Sydney. But specifically an interview, I don't recall her being that big on wanting to get one after the first movie, maybe the second.
Yeah, me either.
So
Sydney and Gale have a chat, have their interview. Gale basically digs into, do you not want to pass that trauma onto your daughter? Which is a really rock-stupid question, because it's basically asking, do you not want your daughter to be involved with in a series of brutal stabbing murders? No, you dumb bitch!
And she goes straight for the throat, because she also brings up how the daughter is named after her friend from the first movie. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this a couple of times, this is one thing that's not necessarily the movie's fault, because one of the big things they try to go for is that Tatum, meaning Rose McGowan's character from the first movie, was very significant to Sydney. What she specifically says during the interview is she was the last friend Sydney could trust. And it's like, on its own, you could see, like, that would be, like, really important. The problem is that after the first movie, Tatum is almost never mentioned.
Like, franchise-wide, that character is the one that nobody, like, talks about and has no significance to the rest of the series.
Yeah, like, they make sure that Dewey has, like, a memorial plaque to her, like, of some kind in Scream 5, and then I think she has a Stab counterpart who appears, like, in, like, the Stab movies, in one or two of them, but yeah.
Yeah. So they get a call that the killer is going to go after Sydney's daughter. So Sydney decides to walk outside and run back to town, which I don't know how far away the town is from this recording center.
It was very far, considering the amount of passage of time.
Because Gale is inside, supposedly also going to the town. Sydney doesn't think to, like, go inside and ask Gale for a ride, since she's going there anyway. And Gale just is not in the rest of the movie for no adequately explained reason. It's like Sydney just decides to run like 700 miles back to town so that the rest of the movie can happen.
Yeah, because if she got in the van right away, then they would have caught Tatum, they could have caught the killers, they wouldn't have had no climax, and it's like, they couldn't write any other way to do it, so just do it.
Yeah, it's like, I guess Sydney wasn't joking when she said Tatum was the last person she could trust. She doesn't trust Gale to give her a ride. Like, I would at least would have taken some explanation. Like, later on, I noticed Gale offers, after everything is over, Gale shows up just to say, hey, do you need a trip to the hospital? And Sydney says, yes. I would have at least bought it if Sydney had said, no, your driving sucks. That's why I didn't ask you for a ride. That would have been funny, the explanation.
Yeah.
So back at the bar, they're playing Suspect Roulette, where basically the people from Scream 5 and 6, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names.
Chad and Mindy.
Yeah, Chad and Mindy are basically just having dialogue vomit about, oh, it could be any of you characters. It could be the boyfriend. It could be the creepy techie dude. It could be the girl who's bored. As like, I know this girl has been in the movie before now, but I could not tell you a single damn thing about her.
No. And that's also where Mindy kind of goes off into what's supposed to be her meta commentary rant. All she says is, mentions nostalgia.
She says, yeah, the theme for this one is nostalgia, which, A, that's been the recurring theme of a lot of the Scream movies, and B, she doesn't elaborate on how it's about nostalgia. Well, she kind of does. It's supposed to be like digging out the real Sydney. It's like, how do you know that? There is literally nothing about these killings has implied that.
And to be frank, Scream 3 and Scream 4 were already heavily about that. So was Scream 5. Like, 3, 4, and 5 were all about, like, getting Sydney out of retirement, basically.
So, yeah, the best thing they could think of for a theme for this movie is to rehash one that's been done multiple times already.
Yeah.
So, the daughter decides to leave. I forget why.
Well, what happens is they were watching the news report where Gail cut into Sydney and everything. And, well, this plays into how, like, insecure Tatum suddenly is in the moment. Like, you know, she's, like, very headstrong. She wants to get the killer. Why won't my mom get me involved? The moment she sees that news report, she's like, I feel very uncomfortable. I want to be with my mom right now.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And then, like, as another red herring, because we'll totally believe it, her boyfriend, like, has the AI working on a computer to see if, like, deepfake someone, even though it has the sci-fi, like, hokey sci-fi Star Trek swirl where he transforms into another person, which is not how AI works.
Yeah, like, it changes from him to Matthew Lillard, and he's, like, on a green screen. Yeah, like, that is actual effects work. That is not AI.
Yeah. So it's like, she bashes him in the face with the keyboard and then runs away, but then later he turns up and she's totally fine with him again. So she's
totally fine with him for about 5 seconds, and then the killer shows up and stabs him.
Yeah, but before that happens, she is running around this town for like 10, 15 minutes, traveling several blocks kind of aimlessly, screaming at the top of her lungs. Not a single cop in town runs into her.
Not even when she throws Ghostface through, like, a display window at a shop and a loud-ass alarm goes off.
Like, I thought the cops were combing this entire town and there was a curfew and everyone was on top alert for Ghostface. How did nobody see her?
And typically those alarms are rigged to, like, immediately dial police.
Yeah, like, even if the cops don't hear it, those are usually rigged to actually call the cops. So
and we kind of skipped a little bit. Like, there was also a set piece, like, after she leaves with, like, the boyfriend, there's a set piece at the bar where, Ghostface shows up. Chad and Mindy are knocked out with a single stab, which was a little bit lame because 5 and 6, they survived a lot of damage done to them.
Yeah. But yeah, the killer is there to kill the techie guy and the girl I can't remember a thing about who's barely been a character.
And there's people who try to pass this off, give this a pass for being a dumb slasher when we bring up the 2 kills. Like, the girl is slid across a counter and then she, like, crashes into, like, glass. And then
I thought that kill was kind of lame, honestly. There wasn't a good payoff to it.
Yeah, and then the techie dude, and you were going on about this big time, Ghostface grabs him and impales him through, like, a dispenser for, like, alcohol, and it comes out of his mouth.
Like, the handle for the tap of beer at the bar, for some reason, has a giant spike on it. Okay, let's say that is durable enough to impale someone through the skull, which it's not. It's on a light hinge that would have bent out of the way. It's not going to spike him. Like, if that were realistic, the killer would have tried to put it on, it would have bent out of the way, and Ghostface would have been like, ah, shit, and spend a few seconds fiddling with it, which, again, might have been funny, but it would have been, that would have been too much character.
Not to mention, like, the clay model or whatever they use for his face impaled on it looks so fake.
Yeah, they try to make it funny with, like, beer and blood starts pouring out of his mouth. It's blatantly a wax head model.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the killer doesn't decide to kill Chad or Mindy because I don't freaking know why.
They gotta survive for the inevitable Scream 8, man, because unfortunately, Scream 7 did the biggest numbers of the entire series. Not by much, but still.
I wonder how much of that was Matthew Lillard's influence, because ever since Five Nights at Freddy's, his career has been on a major resurgence.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Matthew Lillard, when he's on screen, you could tell he loved being back in the role.
Oh yeah, Matthew Lillard is like one of the few great things about this movie.
Yeah.
It occurred to me, like, there was there was another kill sequence early on. I think it's in the house where Sydney has like a crawl space to get away from the killer, and the killer like stabs through the walls.
That's like during like the home invasion.
Yeah, like
part.
I remember thinking at the time that was kind of a decent kill sequence, but although I think They Will Kill You might have done something similar to that. But like, sorry, I'm thinking of another decent set piece, but not being like out of the super out of the
They
ordinary.
Will Kill You. That was the movie that released this year, right?
Yeah.
This was her vengeance.
Yes, justice for Diane because DreamWorks hates her character apparently. Like we went to V-Stock. There was a special collector's DVD of The Bad Guys 2. Every single major character is on the box somewhere except Diane. And there's like, this is U2's merch. An independent company has to merchandise her character because DreamWorks doesn't want to.
They're both U2's plushes.
Yep.
And they're friends.
The Lola's genuine, though. Warner Brothers has been merchandising the crap out of Space Jam.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, so the daughter basically runs to the coffee shop. She gets on the phone with her mom. Sydney has to stop because somehow in the middle of this town there's no cell service. And she taps into the cameras to tell her daughter, okay, you have to get this gun, aim it just here and you'll get the killer. And Tatum breaks down crying like, I can't. It's like, weren't you the one who was going on about, like, you weren't useless, you wanted to be this big, strong, like, female protagonist, and now you're...
And it's like, I know there's people who are going to defend that because there's lots of kid characters who act all overconfident until the time actually comes. The problem is that you don't get any hint of that beforehand. And again, I have to bring up how she's oddly readily prepared to fend off the home invasion part.
Well, when she makes it the entire crux of her character is complaining that she's ready to be involved in this, or at least that's part of it because she's also mad at her mom for not discussing her past. It's like, when you make this the entire point of the character, there needs to be something of a payoff, or like for her suddenly chickening out. Instead, it's just whatever the script needs is what her character does.
And that's another thing. They can't get their logic straight on exactly how prepared Sydney's family is for a Ghostface attack like this. Like sometimes, they make it clear they had an evacuation plan, they had a safe room inside the house, but then they also make it to where, Tatum unpacked her bag on purpose. And then also they completely abandoned the plan to flee the scene after the first killer's taken out for no reason.
Yeah.
So it's like arbitrarily they're smart and they're not smart as the plot demands.
Yeah. So like Tatum lands several body shots on Ghostface, and then Sydney's like, you gotta shoot him in the head. Okay. This Lola is the daughter. Crystal is the Ghostface. You could hit them in the head from this orientation without any problems, but because the movie is stupid and needs something on it, she has to like walk over to right here to where she can to where Ghostface can get her. And also the Ghostface who took several bullets to the torso is perfectly fine in the next scene.
Well, I know Scream. I don't know how much it was made a thing in the other movies. Scream 3 made it a point that the Ghostface in that movie regularly survived body shots because he had thick body armor underneath. Yeah. Like, there's even, like, it's kind of a silly scene. Like, every Scream movie does that one last scare moment where one of the killers gets back up and then finished off. Mm-hmm. Well, Roman in Scream 3, when he gets back up, Dewey keeps shooting him in the chest, but he's got the armor, so he only keeps getting stumbled back, and he's screaming, like, ah, ah! And then he keeps coming forward, and then Gale and Sydney are like, in the head! And then finally get him.
You should have gone for the head, is this entire movie. Alright, so daughter gets captured. Ghostface tells Sydney to go back to her house. And they have like a montage of every actor from the previous movies that they could talk into coming back.
Yeah, they got Mrs. Loomis from Scream 2. They got Roman from Scream 3. They were reportedly going to get Mickey from Scream 2 and Jill from Scream 4, but then they couldn't get them back.
Of course, the killers from 5 and 6 were not eligible.
Yeah, of course 5 and 6 killers weren't eligible, except for one mention at the start.
Yeah.
And admittedly, in a better movie, I would have liked to see Emma Roberts come back, because she was like one of the best killers in the series.
Yeah.
So
Sydney comes outside. Her daughter is duct taped to a chair. if you look close enough, the gag keeps changing. Like sometimes it's angled up, sometimes it's angled down. Like it's like they had to do this scrape multiple cuts together, and then the killers unmask themselves. The first killer is that random guy from the psychiatric hospital who was showing them around and had like no role in the movie.
I should mention, I had completely forgotten about him when I saw this movie in theaters. So when they unmasked him and that's like, oh, big reveal, I'm like, who is that?
Yeah. I remembered who it was, but my reaction was, are you shitting me? This random background extra? And then the main killer unmasks herself, and it's a woman we have gotten this far into the plot without having to mention one single time. It's Sydney's neighbor.
Sydney's neighbor, who is the mom of the techie dude.
Yeah, so Sydney has like 2 interactions with this woman, and she has no other scenes in the movie where it's like, if you're like on a rewatch, you notice they are kind of dumping some weird exposition about this woman for no reason.
One of their first of 2 conversations, which is in the coffee shop, this woman drops, I don't like to talk about my past to my son. I had an abusive husband.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's at the start of the movie. This woman has so little presence in the film that when she shows up and starts ranting about her abusive husband, my first viewing, I thought that was just information we were just now hearing for the first time.
Yeah, like they mention it exactly once in that coffee shop scene, and then she has another conversation with him after this. She has another conversation with Sydney after the school attack.
But it's pretty much just a stock, like, neighbor interaction.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, so the killers in this Scream movie are 2 meaningless background extras that have no bearing on anything that has happened. So, which really cemented, my opinion, the first time I saw it, like, okay, screw this movie, because, like, the killers are nothing.
Like, they try to explain the AI shit by having it to where the orderly dude, he's like, I worked with Google AI.
No, he literally just says, I have a background in AI. Okay, is that why you work a job that doesn't have any technical prowess whatsoever? You're basically just walk the halls of this sanitarium?
I mean, to be fair, with AI freaking being found to be really unsustainable for careers, maybe that was the next best thing he could get.
Okay, yeah, point there.
Not that the movie would have known that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the movie's too stupid to know that.
Yeah.
And I was gonna pay attention. I think they barely even explain why that first guy the first unmasked Ghostface that they got, why he was with them.
It's because, well, he was at the psych hospital, and I guess the orderly knew him or something. If they explain how they were able to get him inside the house, I don't remember.
There's no explanation of how he gets in the house. I was wondering why he was with the killers in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know, it's so brief, if it was... this movie.
Yeah. So now we get to the killer's motive, because, it should be mentioned that they mentioned several times in this movie that Sydney was not in Scream 6.
How many times did you count? Because you had a counter.
Okay, if you count the villain's ending monologue as one instance, they bring it up 6 times in this movie. If you count that they also bring it up in Scary Movie 6, you round it up to 7. So, and the killer's motivation is, when I had my abusive husband, I read your book and you were such an inspiration to me, but then you sat out Scream 6 and that pissed me off, so now I'm gonna kill people to get you to, like, come back. And it's like, her rambling is so incoherent that I completely missed what her point was at the first time I saw this movie. I had to, like, specially pay attention and have subtitles on to catch it this time.
Yeah, like, you have, like... Some people will try to compare it to the motives of the killers from Scream 5, because, again, Scream 5 was about toxic fan bases, and Amber and Richie were literally toxic fans who hated how Stab 8 turned out. Like, it was a ridiculous movie, so they wanted to basically create material for, like, a more true-to-form Stab movie. But the thing is, that ties into the movie's commentary. It's relevant commentary, because... Deny it all you want. Toxic fan bases are real.
Yeah.
And this one, It's literally, oh, we're butthurt that Sidney didn't get in Scream 6.
Like, it feels less like actual commentary and more like producers using, just talking through a character in the movie.
And the thing is, Scream 6 was very respectful to Sidney, and it didn't make much logical sense for her to fly all the way to New York to get involved with everything. And they noted, like, after the first attack in Scream 6, Gale makes mention of how Sidney already took the family into hiding, and then Gale's even pretty respectfully, you know what, she doesn't have to come here, she deserves her happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, it's very nice, and it's this entire movie's crux for existing is to be butthurt that she didn't come in Scream 6.
And it's interesting you mentioned that Gale specifically brought up she gets a happy ending, because I did catch that one of the killer in this screams that she doesn't get a happy ending. And normally it should be that the killer is wrong because they're, psycho. But here, again, it feels like producers talking through the character's mouth.
And it doesn't help that literally when Sidney encounters Gale again, she outright says, I should have went to New York. Mm-hmm. So basically she's saying the killer was right.
Yes. And, that's what, I had the idea that after this they could make a Scream 8 where the premise is like what happens when a movie series tries to be innovative only for shithead producers to drag it back to formula, because that's what happened with Star Wars episode 8. Episode 8 tried to do something unique and different, and then episode 9 dragged it back to formula, and it was much worse for it. That's exactly what happened with Scream in Scream 7. But then you remember that this movie's entire point for being is just to complain that Scream 6 wasn't on formula enough for them. And it's like, they're just content to milk this until it stops making money, and milk it with just empty new installments that don't have a point to them, which, if it were Friday the 13th or kinda Nightmare on Elm Street, I'd be fine with that, but Scream has more of a point to it than that.
Like, the whole point of Scream is to be like,
it's supposed to be kind of satirical of horror movies.
It's kind of satirical of horror movies, of pop culture in general. Mm-hmm. Like, it had all the movies before this had something to say.
And in this one, and what looks to be a set to continue with Scream, if they make a Scream 8.
Oh, they're making a Scream 8.
It's just becoming the thing that they were riffing on.
Yeah, I mean, even though this did the biggest numbers of any Scream movie, it's largely negative reviews and ridicule from most people. Yeah, I don't see Scream 8 replicating that success.
I don't either. It's gonna be like the Fantastic Four movies, where the first one was shit, but I mean the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies. I love First Steps. The first one was shit, but it did enough and had enough hype that it was a success. So then they made the second one, but everyone was like, "Oh no, that first one was crap. I'm not seeing that," and it bombed.
Yeah, I think similar thing happened between X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, but also combined with everybody having knowledge that the MCU was going to be taking over.
Yeah, Dank Phoenix also had the bullet in its kneecap of it was much more widespread what was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. But that's generally what it is with most movies. Even when bad movies are successful, if the sequels keep coming out, they're not going to be as successful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of any case where movies just kept getting worse and worse and the numbers kept increasing for it. I can't think
Transformers. Of one. But that eventually ran dry.
Oh, it ran, see, it comes, even when it happens for bad movies, it runs dry eventually. Transformers I think they were making billions at one point, and now, even the good Transformers movies can't crack, 200 million.
I know, Transformers 1 and Bumblebee put the entire Michael Bay series to shame, and they did terrible. Although with Transformers 1, that was sabotaged by its marketing, because the trailers were awful. Mm-hmm. But back to Scream 7, it turns out that the dad... I'm blanking on the actor's name.
Joel McHale.
Joel McHale. It turns out Joel McHale is still alive, despite, having multiple stab wounds in his chest and having all damn day to bleed out. He cuts the daughter free. They kill the psychiatrist, the mental hospital guy, and the crazy lady runs off into the construction site. So the film's climax is a rehash of a scene we already did with Joel McHale in the garage.
It's easily the weakest climax from the whole series, and like it's a pretty stock fight, and also in general, it's very one-sided in Sydney's favor because, like, Crazy Lady doesn't get much of... Like, she gets a few hits on her, but Sydney's in control of the fight for most of it.
And they don't do a whole lot with the environment, and the fight is really short.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the ending is another point where, like, this movie goes out on its weakest possible note, because, like, again, it's the entire ending screams of, oh crap, this assignment's due tomorrow.
Yeah, then the daughter comes in and, like, well, Sydney gets a few stabs on Crazy Lady, then the daughter shoots her, and then they do the one last scare bit where both Sydney and Tatum friggin' unload their pistols into her face, like, to the point where her face falls off her head, and I think they were just banking on that, ooh, look at the gnarly kill, that was cool.
Yeah, the gnarly kill that's kind of far away, so you can't really see any details, and also, I think they were, like, firing into the camera to where you barely saw any of the impacts.
Yep.
So, Sydney tells her daughter about Tatum about the friend that she was named after. I guess that means the daughter-mother relationship is turning around, even though that development pretty much went out the window because they spent the entire second half of the movie apart. Gail, I guess, gets her some character development because she lets Mindy do a story, even though Gail's character development seems to reset between every movie anyway.
Gail, like, every movie she ends saying she's going to be a better person, and then the next movie reveals she's, like, relapsed right back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Scream 5 ends with her electing to not write about the killings just to avoid giving Amber and Richie the attention they wanted, and she instead was going to write about Dewey. Then Scream 6 has her immediately at the scene of the next Ghostface killings in New York, and, like, it's commentary about that movie. You know, Scream 6 actually does have a really good scene with Gail where it actually kind of rightfully points out that Ghostface never actually got on the phone with her up until that point in the series. And it deconstructs her character there. They do a little bit with her in Scream 7. They make it clear that she lost her show in New York, and now she's just kind of like a traveling crime journalist.
Yeah, like there's one good scene with her where she kind of breaks down over Dewey dying in Scream 5, and that's
and they also make it clear that because she got banged up pretty bad in Scream 6 from the killer in that movie, they make it clear that she had her hands shake because of nerve damage.
Yeah, no, that was something they did with Dewey in one of the other movies too.
Scream 5.
Yeah, Scream 5.
Well, and I think they did that in response to how 1 and 2, his stabbings in those movies that he survives are very savage, and 3 and 4 show that he hadn't really suffered damage from it. So 5 kind of addressed that by showing that the damage was catching up to him.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that's the end of the movie, and you picked up on the music because I like the Scream movies. I don't like them enough to be able to tell audio cues from them.
Yeah, but the thing with this movie is they got Marco Beltrami, I think his name was, because he scored the first 4 movies. They got somebody else for 5 and 6. They got Beltrami back for Scream 7, and blatantly for nostalgia, they reuse music cues from the first movie note for note. Like when Gail comes on the scene, they play Trouble from Woodsboro, which is like one of the iconic tracks from the first one. Like that plays right after they go to the school, like after Drew Barrymore's killing at the beginning of the first movie. And then after they dispatch the killers and like we're in the ending, they play the music from the very last scene of Scream 1. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
And
then the credits are set to the most 2000s rock music ever, and it's meant to be a tribute, but it just feels like this was made 20 years too late.
To me, it just sounded like generic gangster dubstep of today. I don't know, but yeah, like they play like the ending track of the first Scream is like one that stuck in my head. Like it, like really. Like, it has this really nice feeling to it, and, like, it had never come back in any of the other movies until this one, and I was like, no, you did not earn this.
Yeah.
And I remember reading the TV tropes page. Well, first of all, so far the only actor who's come out against this movie is Anna Camp, who plays the crazy lady. She admitted that they poorly wrote her.
Yeah.
Like, she wanted more scenes to flesh herself out.
Mm-hmm. Or at least an ending monologue that made sense.
Yeah, and the second thing is, they apparently were going to have a teaser that revealed Stu actually was alive. And the reason they didn't go with it is because test audiences hated it. And the reason they hated it, it didn't connect at all to these two killers.
Yeah.
Like, it was completely its own thing.
Although, that would have been a much better ending if Stu came out onto the scene, killed these two wannabe ghost faces in the climax, and then was like, no, screw you, I'm taking this back. Although that would have been a funny mirror. That would have been a mirror of how Scary Movie 6 ends, actually.
Like, I guess the door's still open, but it's like, it would be too ridiculous at this point.
Well, especially since they already marketed this movie as Baby Stu's coming back. Like, they kind of shot their shot with it already. That's not going to work twice.
They wasted their chance.
They did, yeah.
Not unless they come forward and, like, just make it clear from the get-go, but then that would ruin the whole point of seeing the movie.
It kind of would, yeah.
So, because you can't know who the killers are.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Scream 7, just kind of a complete nothing of a movie, but how much potential they actively threw away from the two films that led up to this really makes it even more disappointing. Like, Death of Robin Hood is about to get edged off my top 10 worst of the year list. This one is secure, high on the list. Just because
it's still my number one worst movie for the year. Like, I still put it a little bit beneath Ice Cream Man because this movie should have known better. Like, Ice Cream Man, we knew that was going to be schlock.
Yeah, like, they're both nothing movies, but Scream has a pedigree behind it. Ice Cream Man is like, it's Eli Roth. You'll be lucky if it's watchable.
Yeah, and honestly, at least Eli Roth delivered on the gore a little bit better.
A little bit. Like, I was briefly tempted to move Ice Cream Man below this because as we're watching, I was like, okay, that's competently made. Okay, this kill is all right, but the script for this is a complete train wreck. It has no coherent themes or character motivations.
Like, this has a couple of decent set pieces, but then they dry up.
Yeah, they do.
So
it has exactly 2 decent seeds and one's near the start.
Yeah, like, again, the opening scene on its own is a competent opening scene. Mostly because of, like, the whole, like the parts on the floor.
Yeah.
But then when you find out it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, then it just falls apart.
It's like, you're midway through and it's like, did that house burning down have anything to do with anything? And the answer is no.
It was for a trailer shot.
It was for the entirety of the marketing campaign. That'd be like if you were advertising Goldfinger and it was entirely about... No, it'd be like if you were advertising Thunderball and all you showed was the jetpack sequence from the opening.
I imagine they probably did.
I mean, they probably showed it, but that'd be like if that was the entire marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Although TV Tropes does call it the one with the jetpack, so... bad comparison, I guess.
I'm trying to think of another example. Like, imagine if you marketed...
Oh, it's like 007 Legends marketing Skyfall off of that meaningless fight with the henchmen after the first act.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's totally representative of the movie and not a completely inconsequential scene a third of the way in. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Scream 7? Because I'm pretty much tapped out, I think.
I don't know. Like, Scream 7, like, it's
a rushed hack job from a guy whose last directing credit was Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which was hot garbage, and also 20 years ago.
Yeah, and, like, and the thing is, Kevin Williamson, he's the guy who directed, he wrote 1, 2, and 4. Writing doesn't necessarily translate over to directing, and I don't know if he had a writing credit on this one, but I mean...
I don't know. We did see executive producer Courtney Cox was a surprise, though.
Yeah.
For how useless her character is to the entire movie.
I feel like it must have probably just been a paycheck for her.
It might have been. Although, producer is usually like the inverse, where they pay for shit. I don't know.
I have no clue.
I don't know. I have a viewer who asks me a lot about what I think about how certain movies are going to shake out. I know nothing about the studio system virtually. So yeah, Scream 7, complete waste of potential. Yeah, this was totally worth blacklisting the actual good actresses from the interesting parts of your newer movies.
I mean, Jenna Ortega's doing well with Wednesday.
Yeah,
and
she's got Wednesday to fall back on. She'll be fine. But
but then Melissa Barrera's kind of screwed, and I guess if she really is blacklisted, that I guess they definitely won't be revisiting anything in Scream 8.
Like, it just sucks what happened to Melissa Barrera over this whole thing. I just hope she doesn't go the route of Jonathan Majors of taking on, like, alt-right grifter projects just to keep working. I don't think she will, because she seems smarter than that.
Like, it feels like that she has, like, the right mindset in mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jonathan Majors actually had a reason to have his career ended.
Yeah.
So,
like, Jenna Ortega, maybe there'll be an indie movie that picks her up or something she can rebuild, because she still has good standing, mostly in Hollywood, I think.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega's been in a couple of big things, I think.
I meant Melissa Barrera. I got them
mixed up. Melissa Barrera, like, I mean, the last thing I saw her in was Abigail.
And I think that was filmed around the same time as the Screams, yeah?
Yeah, and, like...
I remember Abigail more for also starring that guy who looks like a buff Elon Musk.
I'm trying to remember.
I cannot remember that dude's name.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, okay. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, Scream 8.
It's gonna happen, and it's probably gonna suck, too.
Probably.
Yeah.